The 2019 to 2021 Israeli political crisis is an ongoing period of political instability in the state of Israel, in which 4 Knesset elections were held in a span of 2 years. In April 2019, September 2019, March 2020 and March 2021. The crisis began after the elections of April 2019 left no party able to form a government. The 2 major parties, Blue and White and Likud, received an equal number of 35 seats. The Likud received a mandate from the president to attempt to form a government. But Benjamin Netanyahu failed to arrange a majority coalition of 61 seats. Netanyahu's Likud and their supporting parties voted to dissolve the Knesset instead of letting the president give the mandate to another Knesset member. A second election was held in September 2019. This time, Blue and White overcame the Likud by a single seat. Nonetheless, the Likud received the mandate from the president after gaining the support of one Knesset member more than Blue and White. Netanyahu again failed to form a government. This time, the mandate passed to Benny Gantz, who also failed to achieve a majority. The president passed the mandate to the Knesset members for 21 days. After no other candidate was offered, the Knesset was dissolved. In March 2020, the third election was held. This time, Likud gained more seats than Blue and White. But Gantz achieved more recommendations from potential allies in the Knesset and received the mandate from the president. Gantz nevertheless was unable to unite enough allies into a coalition. His bloc was still agreed to replace the Speaker of the Knesset. Following this, the former Knesset Speaker Yuli Edelstein refused to convene the plenary to vote on his replacement. His refusal created a constitutional crisis. The Movement for Quality Government in Israel appealed to the Supreme Court, which ordered Edelstein to convene the Knesset. Following this, Edelstein resigned. Meanwhile, the COVID-19 pandemic in Israel worsened, which precipitated negotiations for a national emergency government. On March 26, Gantz was sworn in as the new Knesset Speaker, with the support of the Likud party, causing a split in Blue and White. Finally, on the 20th of April 2020, the Likud and Blue and White agreed on an equal unity government, which includes a rotation agreement between Gantz and Netanyahu on the Prime Minister's chair. However, following a failed budgetary vote in December 2020, the government coalition collapsed yet again, and a new election was called for March 2021, an unprecedented fourth election in only 2 years. Benjamin Netanyahu Likud, no government formed and fresh elections called. Netanyahu remains PM in interim. The crisis began after the April 2019 election. The leader of the Blue and White faction, Benny Gantz, conceded the election, paving the way for incumbent Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to start talks with other parties to form a governing coalition. On 15 and 16 April, leaders of all the parties who won seats in the Knesset met with President Reuven Rivlin to recommend a designated person to form a government. Netanyahu received recommendations from leaders representing 65 seats in the Knesset, whereas Gantz received recommendations from leaders representing only 45 seats in the Knesset. Leaders of the 2 Arab parties, representing 10 seats in the Knesset, declined to make any recommendation. Based on the recommendations he received, Rivlin designated Netanyahu to form the next governing coalition. After a month of negotiations, Netanyahu's failure to form a government led to a 74-45 vote in the Knesset in favor of dispersing just after midnight on the 29th of May 2019 in order to not to give another candidate the mandate. The new election was scheduled for the 17th of September 2019. Benjamin Netanyahu Likud, no government formed and fresh elections called. Netanyahu remains PM in interim. A second election was held in September 2019. This time, Blue and White overcame the Likud by a single seat. On election night, Avigdor Lieberman of Yisrael Beitenu called for a broad liberal government that includes both Blue and White and Likud, and reiterated that he did not want to form any majority with the Arab parties. Benny Gantz claimed prime ministership and Blue and White repeated that they would not form a government with Netanyahu. although they were open to one with Likud. Benjamin Netanyahu called for a strong Zionist government. On the left, Labour Gusher stated it wanted to bring Arab parties to the table, some of which are open to recommending Gantz. On the 18th of September, Netanyahu met with the emissaries of Yamina, Sahas, and UTJ to build a right-wing bloc to negotiate together. On the 19th of September, Rivlin, Netanyahu and Gantz met during a memorial ceremony for Shimon Peres. Netanyahu urged Gantz to speak with him about forming a unity government, for the sake of avoiding a third election. Speaking for Blue and White, Gantz and Lapid both rejected Netanyahu's offer, saying Blue and White had won, and